We got Jeremy Kennedy back here on the program, who's the newest addition to the PFL featherweight tournament. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you again, even though last time I saw you, I ended up losing a game of Mario Kart, but it's good to catch up with you again. I wanted to talk to you about that, though, because literally 2 days later after we did that interview, you got engaged. I got to know, were you more nervous for, proposing to Haley or than some of your fights, or how were the emotions heading into that?
Yeah, it was hard because it was a surprise. So like even seeing you 2 days prior, like I didn't even bring it up because I was just like I'd put so much work into making it a surprise, and like our trip out to Orlando, Florida, and everything. I didn't want any last minute things to go wrong, and so I was just like constantly stressing about that, like who I was telling, and I had to talk to her parents and to her sister and stuff like that. So slowly, as it got closer, more people knew. But like for the longest time, I had it planned for months, and I was the only one who knew. So it was easy. But once other people started knowing, I just really didn't want her to figure it out. But we ran the half marathon, and that kind of took my mind off of the proposing part, because I was worried about the marathon. And then it kind of all happened so fast once we passed the finish line. I was like, okay, here we go. And it's what I want, right? So that's nothing to be nervous about. But it was more so. I got Big Dog Joe here. Um, yeah, no, it was more so just like nerve wracking about everybody else knowing, like her finding out. Like once we were
Right,
there
yeah,
and I
you
was
didn't
running
want the
the
surprise
marathon.
spoiled, yeah.
Yeah, like once I ran and our phones were away, like we ran without our phones and no contact except for just me and her. I was like, I wasn't worried about that at all. It's,
For sure. And the last time we talked, it sounded like you were going to fight for Brave in March. And like what happened with that fight? I mean, now you're here with PFL. Obviously, it makes a lot more sense, especially with what's on the line. But what happened there?
yeah, like that's the big thing. It's like it's hard because all those fights are so far away. Like it's great, when I was, younger and just building experience and traveling to Morocco and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. It was amazing. But it is more costly, just the little things that add up, and Haley coming out with me and stuff like that, which made it harder. And I was planned to fight in March in Manila there, but then I guess the card filled up and they weren't able to keep me on, but I wanted to stay busy. So I kind of like asked, hey, like I was looking to finish up my contract in March, but I wanted to start focusing, North America and here, Bellator, PFL, locally here, like anything. I just wanted to stay in North America.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'm sure the PFL, there's that connection because I know you train at Extreme and Ray Cephos there. Was that sort of how that got set up? Because I don't know if people remember, you were supposed to fight last year against Marcos Galvao, and that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of had that connection. We hadn't really talked much since that, but that was still on my horizon and everything like that. So I just went to Brave and I explained everything to them. I was like, hey guys, like I wanted to fight in March, finish up my contract, and just fulfill it. But if that's not going to happen, I would like to, I asked for my release because I wanted to focus. I have the wedding I have so much stuff going on at home. We just bought this house. So I just explained everything to them. I was like, hey, I want to start focusing more close to home. And they were happy about it. They know, like they didn't want to see me go, but they've been good to me, this whole time through. And so they knew it for my best interest. It was the best move for me. And then about 2 months later or so, the PFL thing came up, and I had to jump on that. Like that's the best contract and everything. All I want to do is fight and stay busy, and this is like 5 fights in a year with the grand prize of being $1 million. How can you pass that up?
So as this is all going on, are you negotiating this yourself? Because if I remember correctly, you don't have a manager right now. So are you talking to Brave? Are you talking to PFL? Are you doing this all on your own?
Yeah, I was doing PFL on my own, and then Brave on my own. But then PFL, I was kind of dealing with Ali and Ray somewhat on my own, but Ali was helping me out a lot doing the connections there and like making the introductions and whatnot. And now it looks like I'm gonna be signing with Ali and just have a manager again. I trust him because I'm training with him. He trains at Extreme. He's on the mats with his guys, and that's all I've ever wanted with a manager, somebody I can trust and deal with and personable, see him face to face and stuff like that. So it's a good move for me, and I'm excited for it now.
Was there any hesitation going in this tournament because you trained with Lance Palmer and he won the tournament last year? There's a chance you guys could fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part we're going to be staying away from each other. I mean, until the seating and all that kind of gets announced. But yeah, with this kind of money, like the only time we'll be fighting is for the the big money, and it's pretty hard to kill my opportunity. And when I'm making half the amount across the world and everything like that. So I think it's just the best move for both of us still. And I think he's doing his camps in New Jersey, which is close to his home, because he was traveling and still dealing with all that kind of stuff too. So I think he's doing his camps elsewhere. So I mean, I don't want to fight the guy. He's still my guy. I love that guy, and we trained hard. We trained together all the time. So that's not a fight I'm definitely looking forward to at all. But for $1 million, I think that would be a great fight to have. But and a lot of things have to happen in order for that to happen. Anything can happen from now to then. There's injuries, there's wins, there's losses. There's a lot of tough guys in this division. Like I'm focused on, whoever I got in May, and then I'm focused on July, and like I'm not even thinking about the playoffs just yet.
Have you spoken to Lance about this though? I'm sure that was something that must have crossed your mind, just because you guys do know each other and you have trained together.
Yeah, we talked about it. It was more so just like we were aware of it. We didn't really talk necessarily about like what's going to happen if me and you fight, kind of thing. But I mean, even last year I was an alternate, so the possibility was there then too. But it was just like I cut weight with him. We did all fight week together, so it wasn't really something we were really thinking about. And I still, even now, like I'm not really thinking about fighting, Lance. I'm thinking about fighting these other 11, 10 other guys that are all world class dudes. Especially this year, man. Like last year, they had a few guys that really didn't belong there. This year, everybody's a killer. So.
Okay, that sounds good. I know you when you're going to be fighting. It's going to be in May, right? The first card.
Yeah,
I think.
It's the second card, May 23rd.
Okay,
so
cool. Where's that one taking place?
Long Island. All three are going to be Long Island, and I think we're with the lightweights. So it's the first one's women's lightweight and welterweight, and then the second card is the lightweights and featherweights, and then the third card in June, first week of June, is the light heavyweights and heavyweights.
I know we don't know all the fighters that are going to be in the tournament, but who would you say is the toughest in there besides, I mean, I guess, would you say it's Lance, or is there someone else you're looking at right now that they've announced?
Yeah, I've had my eye on a lot, like the guys returning from last year, Bazaris and Andre Harrison are both tough guys. Obviously Lance, he won the whole thing. But I mean, even some of these newer guys, Damon Jackson's been killing it on the regional scene. He didn't have too good of a run in the UFC, but since then he grew a lot. Movlid, I think he fought and won. He's 13-0 Russian guy. He's a tough dude too. So there's a lot of guys that are on my radar on this, and I love it. I love studying my division and love studying guys. So this is like right up my alley. We're all in a tournament. They're all potential opponents, and we get to earn points and move on. And it's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited about it.
Do you feel like in some ways things have worked out better for you just because this is going to be on ESPN, so you'll get that exposure? I know the sponsorships are a little bit better than the UFC as well. Like it's kind of worked out for you, with everything, because you could be fighting the UFC right now and not getting paid what you're worth.
Everything in my career has kind of led me to this point. When I was in the UFC, I had a lot of growing to do. Like I was successful. I went 3-1. My only loss was to the number 4 ranked guy who's fighting Jose Aldo now. So at that point in my career, I got all that experience of fighting at the highest level. But I was 24, and like I wasn't fighting the way I do now, and it forced me to get out of my comfort zone and move to Vegas, switch up my camp with a big camp, and change my style of like fighting and just be more aggressive and be confident in my striking. And then signing to Brave was huge because it allowed me to fight top level of guys. Like both guys were 10-1 from, Italy and Russia, and build my confidence by knocking both of them out and fighting across the world and still gaining all this experience on like big promotions. And now I'm just like, I'm really confident in my striking and my grappling, and I've got, over 25 fights, and I fought all around the world for the UFC, for Brave, for big stages. And now it's kind of like led me all the way to here where I feel like I'm 26. I'm just getting into my prime. My confidence is the highest it's ever been. And, I'm ready to win this $1 million now. It's just like, I feel like everything is kind of came down to this
the UFC wasn't where I was meant to be in a sense. I feel like PFL was, and UFC helped get me here. Where a lot of guys would think it'd be the other way around, but it'd take a lot of fights to win $1 million in the UFC, and I think I'm getting paid all the way through with PFL too, and already the money's better. So I'm just this is kind of the big leagues for me. Like a lot of people think the UFC is the top echelon, and to me right now I feel like I'm at that highest stage of the sport in my career.
What would you do if you won the $1 million? I'm sure that's crossed your mind at this point.
I did, just because I'm confident, so I'm visualizing it, and a lot of people say like, oh, you got to pay off your mortgage of the house you just bought. I was like, no, like I want to buy another house, So I'm that's my first purchase would be looking at more property here, and or perhaps in Vegas, if things keep going this way. But I would rather make a second income rather than save a little bit on interest on this mortgage, So definitely buying a second piece of property. And then I need a new vehicle. I've been driving around the same 2008 Dodge Avenger. So yeah, definitely a vehicle and some property. And then, don't know, I don't want to act rich with that kind of money, So you just got to, pretend you don't have it and keep earning like you need it. And that's about it. But mostly, yeah, the house and the car.
And I know you have to pay taxes on that, but that's 1 million American, so that's way better than 1 million Canadian, right? So.
Canadian. Yeah. I think that would be like, it's nice because the exchange rate is about the same as the
taxes. Exactly. Yeah, I think we're at 70 cents or something to the dollar. So that there you go.
Yeah, I think it would be like a Canadian that's like 1.3 million. So you're looking at roughly whatever that would be in taxes here. So, I don't know what the whole withholding and all that stuff with the States is going to be, but I'm not getting my two hopes up of having, 7 figures in my bank account. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of taxes to be paid and whatnot. So,
how are you structuring this camp? When are you going to head back to Vegas?
Well, I'm actually just home for this week. I was in Vegas last week. Then I'm gone again on Monday. I'm there because now I'm 8 weeks out. I kind of got the jump on things. I was training, pretty hard for the last few weeks here. Got my weight right down. Like I feel like I could fight next week, and so I'm excited about that. I wanted to get ahead of schedule so I can kind of taper here and there as things come up. It's a long year. Little injuries may be coming and going, so if I need to take a day off or whatever, I know my weight's fine and I know my conditioning's good right now, starting point, So I go to Vegas on Monday. I'm there till Friday. I have to come home just because we have some engagement stuff, like engagement party and some wedding shopping, venue shopping and stuff like that on the weekend. And then Haley kind of let me go and let's fight camp mode. So then I'm back to Vegas. I'll be driving down, and then I'm there till the fight, So I'll get about 6 weeks there straight, 1 week at home, and 2 weeks there. So out of 9 weeks, it's like 7, 8 down there and 1 here.
Okay. I remember last time we talked, you said you might be going to International Fight Week. Is that still the case, or are you going to? I guess you'll have to see how the fight goes.
Yeah, I'll have to see how the fight goes. I mean, the next fight is July 25th, so. Like I said, with this kind of schedule, I love it. It's the whole year is a fight camp. I think you have like 1 week in between from May till the July where it's like, 9 weeks out and then you're 8 weeks again. So, I mean, my weight will still be staying low. I'll be training all the way through. I'm hoping, the fight goes my way and that I'm back in the gym on Monday, but if something happens and I got to take a little bit of time off, that's okay. Just the whole year is going to be a fight camp. And that's the way it should be structured. It's fight season, and then you have your little off season from December to, this time. And then it's 6 or 7 months of training camp, 5 fights in those 7 months. It's perfect. You can ask any fighter. I think they would love that. That's the one problem with the UFC is so sporadic. And until you get on like some momentum, they can shelf you for 6 months at a time. And that's not something that's going to happen here. So I love that. No, we're looking at about, because, anticipating being in PFL again next season, like this is going to be kind of my life for the foreseeable future. We're looking at August. I think August is kind of like a dead zone in between the regular season and the playoffs. So we're already anticipating next year. Like that's the last thing I want to have to be worrying about, like my regular season fight and I got a wedding the next day or whatever. So I think we're safe, mid-August, and that's what we're looking at for 2020. But yeah, so it's big year, lots of big things coming up for me. I'm excited about it.
And speaking of big dates, when am I going to get my rematch? That
Yeah.
it really that was a tough loss for me at Mario Kart. I don't usually lose at that game, but we got to do it up at some point, whether it's in Vegas or here, because obviously I'm going to be there in July for the kart, so we'll see what happens.
I welcome all challengers. I
There
got
you go. I like this attitude. That's why you're Canadian, Jeremy. I appreciate it. So
yeah, I got a different belt, but
yes. It's going to be an awesome season. It's coming up here, like you said, in May. We'll definitely do a follow-up once we get that opponent revealed. But in the meantime, man, where can people find you on social media? And if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours, man.
yeah, man, I appreciate always coming on and talking with you. Pretty much all my content is on Instagram, so Jeremy Kennedy 145, and it'll all be there.